Hello everyone, this is Satish Kumar. I'm here with another lesson for Indian economy. This is my continuation of my previous lesson on RBI and its function. Okay, so in the previous lesson, we learnt about the Reserve Bank of India, its functions, and we saw some functions in detail like issuing of currency, banker to government, okay, and about the Monetary Policy Committee, right, and the monetary policy framework. So, in this lesson, we will learn about the different ways the RBI use the how it implements the monetary policy, the ways and means of doing it. Okay, like what are the instruments of credit control? Okay, see generally uh, the money supply in the market no in the economy could be increased or decreased by RBI by using this method. In fact, that is the major aim of the monetary policy. Okay, either to regulate the money supply, either to increase or decrease. Okay, this the RBI does by the instruments of credit control. So there are credit controls two major categories. There are two major differentiation. One is quantitative or general methods, or quantitative or general control. The other is qualitative or selective methods. What do we mean by that? Okay, we need to know what is qualitative method and what is quantitative method. See, if RBI's attempts to regulate the money supply in the entire economy, if it wants to bring, if the change that RBI is intended to do is for the entire economy, the decision that it takes, no, it affects the entire economy, it could be called as general method or quantitative method. Okay, in such method there are different instruments for credit control like bank rate, cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, open market operation, repo rate, reverse repo rate, and some other things. Okay, liquidity adjustment facility. We will see all this in detail. Okay, the qualitative. What is the difference between quantitative and qualitative method? The second method, the qualitative method, no, it is called selective method because see in this case, RBI will focus on selective sectors to money supply. So here it is not concerned about the entire economy. So some selective areas it will focus. Okay, and there are different methods. So the difference between quantitative methods and qualitative method is RBI when it focuses on the entire economy, it uses the quantitative method for monetary control. Okay, RBI when it focuses for in the economy for monetary control in the entire economy, it is called general method or quantitative method. If it is going to focus on particular areas, right, I will tell you, I will give an example. Okay, see, if the automobile industrial sector, right, if that sector is booming and the price of that sector is going high, no, and if RBI wants to bring that price level of that sector to come down, no, it will focus only on that area, that sector. Okay, in the qualitative method. But the steps taken in the quantitative method, that is general method, will affect the entire economy. Okay, this is the difference between these two. So in the qualitative method there are different methods like rationing of credit, variation of margin requirement, moral suasion and direct action, and we will see all this in detail. And even if you haven't understood the way I explained these two things now, when we study the different methods you will understand what it is. Okay, before going into the quantitative or general methods, we need to know what is net demand and time liabilities, or NDTL. This will be there. In fact, there will be asked even questions related to this. Okay, what is net demand and time liabilities. Okay, see, bank's primary purpose is it collect deposit and lend loan. Okay, when it collect deposit, it is a liability for bank. That is, whatever the loan that deposit that bank collect from the people, no, it has to return it. Okay, people are depositing it for either they may deposit in a savings bank or a fixed deposit, anything. Okay, but people ultimately will demand at some point of time. Okay, so this is known as liabilities for bank. Okay, and RBI lends those amount, and in that lending they will charge some interest, and that interest is the profit. In fact, uh, that interest, RBI also pays interest to the customers, the depositors. So the difference of interest rate that RBI pays to the depositors and RBI gets from the lenders will be the profit. We all know this. This is the basic thing. Okay, but the customers, when they demand the money, no, so take an example. If RB has collected 1 lakh rupee from the people, not RBI, bank, a bank has collected 1 lakh rupee from the people. There is a bank called XYZ bank, and it has collected 1 lakh rupee from people, okay, as deposits. Okay, now the bank has to see, the bank has to earn some money of this deposits, so they will lend this money. If the bank lend the entire 100 rupees, right, and the bank doesn't have any money, no, and take the case and the lender has escaped, like Vijay Mallya, the lender has took the entire 10 lakh rupee, 1 lakh rupee that the was deposited in the bank. Somebody has taken and ran away. Now the customers, the depositors will go to the bank and ask for the deposits. The bank could not pay, so the bank will default. So the bank has to consider, whenever the depositors approaching the bank for taking the money, no, it should have some money in its hand, which is known as liquidity. Okay, liquidity means immediately transferable asset, that is cash, either in cash or in other form. So bank's liquidity should be sound, only then it could meet this claim of the depositors. Whenever if I put some money in the bank, no, if I put 10,000 rupees in the bank, and suddenly tomorrow I may require some 5,000 rupees for some expenses, so I'll go and like to take that, withdraw that money from the bank. But when the bank doesn't have it, what will it will affect me. So the bank has to hold some money to meet this kind of requirement. So what are all the liabilities that the bank got? No, they are all included in this net demand and time liabilities. So what are all the things that the bank collect as total deposits? Here everything is accounted, that is the savings bank, current account deposit, demand drafts, fixed deposit, some cash certificate, gold deposit, people will deposit gold in bank. Then there is also staff that are working in the bank may deposited some security deposit. Okay, all these are grouped, and this is called demand and time liabilities. Okay, and this demand and time liabilities, no, will be in gross, the total amount will be gross, and if it is detected by what is known as the interbank deposit, so bank may deposit some money in the another bank, so that amount, if it is deducted, we will arrive at the net demand and time liabilities. Okay, so whatever the bank owes to its customers and other segment, it is called net demand and time liabilities. Okay, this is the total deposits. So we need to know what is net demand and time liabilities. So now we'll see the different credit control methods that RBI used to control banks or to take decisions about the money supply in the economy, right? First we'll see the cash reserve ratio. So this is a ratio that is fixed by RBI, okay, of the total deposits that we saw just now, no, the net demand time liabilities. It is a percentage of that amount. If 100 rupees is the net demand and time liabilities, RBI will say to the banks that they should hold at least 3 rupees as cash with them, because some people may at times knock the bank to withdraw some money. So bank, if there is 100 rupees is deposited in bank, they should have at least 3 rupees as cash, which is a highly liquid asset. Okay, cash is will be used, can be used immediately. Okay, so that is the basic thing. So RBI fixed this rate, and bank has to maintain this amount, and it has to deposit the amount in the RBI. It has to maintain it in RBI. It has to give this cash in the RBI. So it will be in the RBI's place. Okay, and this amount is fixed by RBI, and it is previously fixed around 3% to 15%. Okay, it will be between 3% to 15%. At some in the 80s and 90s, no, it was very high. Okay, like 10%, 12%. Okay, because we felt that bank has to hold that much of amount for meeting the, the withdrawal requirements of the depositors. But in 2007, no, there was an amendment act made which removed the 3% floor ceiling, which said that there should not be any floor amount, and it gives RBI a free hand to determine the amount. Okay, and also RBI has reduced this cash reserve ratio over a period of time, which was as high as 10-12% in the 1980s. No, now it has come down, and at present it is somewhere around 3% and 4%. Okay, I have given you as 4%, but you check on your own what is the current, because these kind of ratios will be changed frequently. Okay, so as I said, no, in the previous class, in economy, whenever data, current related data comes, you always rely on your data, never rely on others notes, even if you are your teacher, because between the time that he gives and the notes that you are going to use, no, there may be change in data, so it may become wrong. Okay, and what if the faculty has taken that notes from a 1 or 2 year back? Okay, so never rely on current data on the faculty notes. I will always recommend you to check on your own what is the present level and fill that. Okay, even though I will give it as here. Okay, okay, so at present it is somewhere around 3 to 4%. So please remember, if RBI increases this current risk ratio by 1%, no, it will actually reduce the amount of money supply in the economy, that is in our country. Okay, similarly, if RBI decreases 1% of this interest rate, it will lead to an increase in money supply in the economy. So this is how RBI will do. It will either increase or decrease, so that whenever it will take decision accordingly. If the economy is facing inflation and there is huge money supply in the economy, no, RBI will naturally increase the cash reserve ratio, so that will suck the amount of money in the economy. And when the economy is facing deflation, and there needs to be a stimulus, there need to be more money supply, there need to be more lending by the bank. In such a case, RBI will decrease the amount. Okay, this is the basic thing. Okay, and the Narasimhan Committee on Financial Reforms, no, in 1991, it said that to reduce the cash reserve ratio, which was as high as 10 to 15% in the 1990s. Okay, as I said earlier, no, so it wanted to gradually reduce up to 4.5%, and we have done that. Okay, in fact, at present it is somewhere around 3% to 4%. Okay, it will be determined upon the situation. Okay, and the Narasimhan Committee also recommended, see, at present this amount, that is the 3% of amount that bank stores in the RBI, no, as cash reserve ratio, they don't receive any interest. Okay, that is the present condition. But the Narasimhan Committee in 1992 felt that banks should get some interest in this amount, so it recommended to give some interest. In fact, RBI also gives that interest in the 1999 and 2000, because at that time the economy was very slow, so they wanted to boost the market. But later on in 2007, RBI discontinued paying interest to the cash reserve ratio. So at present, this amount will not get any interest for banks. Please remember this point. So I hope you understand what it is, cash reserve ratio. Now we'll go to the second important thing, that is the statutory liquidity ratio. Okay, see, again, this is also an amount that bank has to hold. Okay, here the bank can hold this is also a certain percentage of amount on the NDTL, that is the net demand time liabilities, that the bank has to hold. Okay, here is also some percentage, but here bank RBI says that the bank has to hold this percentage of amount as statutory liquidity ratio in either cash, gold, or G securities. It gives three options. In the cash reserve ratio, only cash has to be um, kept, that too in the RBI as reserve. But here the bank can keep this amount with them itself, this percentage of ratio with them. They should have to maintain as a liquid asset with them, and they could either maintain it in cash, gold, or government securities. Generally, the banks know, even though RBI has given three chances, they will mostly um, have this amount in the government securities. Why? Because if it keeps it in a cash form, that is, it is of no use, because it won't get any interest for them. Okay, it will be just holding in the locker room the money. What is the use of it? Okay, even if it is only has it in own bank. Okay, if it is going to invest on gold, no, gold may not fetch that much of interest. So the G securities will be the best option, because it may get much better interest. So there will be some profit earned in this SLR. Okay, so SLR fetches some interest rate for banks, because they will invest in G securities. Okay, so the CRR cannot earn any interest, because it is kept in the RBI, and they cannot, RBI is not going to give any interest on that. But the SLR, the bank will have it in its own place, and it has to hold either in cash, gold, or G securities. Since our bank want to earn some interest, they will mostly deposit this amount in the G securities. They will keep it as a government securities. That is, what is government securities? Government will issue some securities, right? To see, government may need some money for some expenditures. Okay, we know government is doing budget. Okay, and that budget they are not having enough money, they will have deficit, so they need some money. So for this, raising this money, they will issue government securities. Okay, and bank gives purchases this government securities, and government will pay interest based on this, in what condition they are buying. Okay, so that is how this happens. In fact, generally government use this statutory liquidity ratio as a way to increase their spending or get more debt from banks. Okay, that is why, in fact, at one point of time, this SLR was as high as 38.5%. That is nearly 40% of the, if the total deposit of a bank is 100 rupees, 40 rupees as almost 40, 38.5 rupees as kept as SLR, and government used this money as by issuing government securities. Okay, so the Committee on Financial Reforms, no, that is the Narasimhan Committee, has recommended to cut this down to 25%. Okay, uh, and as per the recommendation, we started reducing this statutory equity ratio amount, and at present it stands even further down. In fact, government has removed this 25% ceiling also, which the committee of Narasimhan Committee recommended. So at present, it is the RBI is given free to fix whatever the amount it determines. At present, it is 21.5%. Okay, please check this to the current also. If there is any change, make note. But at present, I think it is 21.5%. Okay, so this also come down. See, 21.5 is where, and 38.5, that is nearly 45 to 50% of the amount. If that amount is kept as idle, see, what is the purpose of decreasing this SLR? That means bank will have more money to lend. If bank lends more money to people, no, it will become more investment and more of businesses and more production. More money will be in the market, so more investment will be there in the economy, more employment. That will work as a thing, a circle, and will create more jobs. But if the money is kept in the government as a government will also going to use this money for some purpose, but generally our government, we don't know, they will use it for unnecessary purpose. So when bank lend, it will become more useful for the economy. So that is why this SLR was reduced. Okay, as a result, bank will have more money to lend. Okay, please remember these kind of points. And the Narasimhan Committee also recommended that the bank should not, government should not use to take this SLR from banks uh, for its own debt, for its own purposes. So government should not just issue government securities and take this money. Okay, uh, that was recommended by committee of, but generally government will rely on this. In fact, bank also will invest on government securities because they get more interest than gold and keeping idle as cash. Okay, this is the thing about SLR. Third, bank rate. What is bank rate? This is the rate at which RBI lends. RBI, when it is lending to anyone in long term, okay, it will lend at this rate. Please remember this point, long term. When RBI lends to somebody long term, it charges this much of interest rate. That is the bank rate. Bank rate is the interest rate at which RBI lends to somebody for long term. Okay, this is the basic definition. You have to understand there is another rate called repo rate. So we need to know the difference between bank rate and repo rate. For that, this point is very important. Long term. Okay. The clients know who are all the clients. See, bank RBI is not only lending to banks. They will lend to government. That is the government of India. They will lend to the state governments. They will lend to other financial institutions. They will lend to non-banking financial companies. So RBI lend to lot of people. Okay, to all this if they are getting long-term loan from RBI, they will get with this interest rate. This is the bank rate. Okay, and when RBI either increases or decreases this rate, what it means is, if RBI raises this interest rate, people will not lend more with RBI. As a result, there will be less money supply in the economy. When RBI decreases this rate, people will lend more, that is the bank or government. As a result, there will be more money in the economy. Okay, but in recent times, RBI is announcing bank rate, but generally RBI is not engaging in providing long-term loans, especially to banks. In fact, banks in recent times are availing loan through a different medium. We will see what it is. Okay, but still the Government of India, State Bank, other institutions are there. So the bank rate is there. Okay, the current bank rate is 4.25%. Please check this data also. If it is changed, kindly change. Now the second rate, that is the repo rate. Again, this is known as rate of repurchase. Okay, see, RBI not only provides long-term loan, it also gives short-term borrowing to its client. Okay, and the short-term borrowing, RBI charges the interest rate, and that rate is called as repo rate. Okay, in fact, this is not at all interest, it is discount. See, generally, if a bank want to lend some money from RBI, in this method, they will go to RBI and they will give the government securities that they are having, and they will give it to the RBI, and they will get that much of amount. Say, if a bank has 100 rupees of government security, if a bank has one government security which is worth 100 rupees, okay, it is going to sell it, it will give to the RBI, and it will get 100 rupees. Okay, and for say it is going to get it after 1 week or 1 day, those kind of things will happen also. Overnight also they will get. So 1 week after it will going to get. Suppose if there is a interest rate of repo rate of 4%, when it is going to collect that government security, that is when it is going to repay the amount and collect that government security, at that time it will only get 96 rupees worth of government securities. Okay, it won't get 100 rupees because the interest rate will be discounted. That is why it is called discount rate and not interest rate, but generally we call it as an interest rate. Okay, that is what repo rate is. Okay, this has been in recent times only, in the after 1990s. In fact, this has been after the new schemes called liquidity adjustment for bank was started by RBI, because bank sometimes they feel they lack for some short term what you say transactions. They may not having money and they can't lend it to other banks. See, bank also lend from other banks. Okay, but if it can't lend from other banks, they may be cash less, and for to meet some short term requirements. Okay, for this purpose they will get this money for RBI. I'll give you an example. If today RBI is having the bank is having some 1 lakh rupee as cash in it with this, generally the people who are withdrawing the bank regularly for a day is just 60,000. Suddenly today there are came like 2 lakh rupees people are withdrawing. In such a situation, RBI might need for that day to meet that extra 1 lakh rupee, it has to go for some borrowing. And that's saying, not only this, there will be multiple examples. Bank may require money for multiple examples. Whenever it needs some short term borrowing, it will knock the RBI, and RBI will pay that money in this rate. Okay, repo rate. Okay, and this rate is somewhere around 4%. Okay, in fact this rate will be in fact this is a little bit lesser. Okay, and again RBI uses this rate also for increasing or decreasing the money supply. Okay, same as bank rate. If it is want to increase the money supply, it will decrease this rate. If it is want to decrease the money supply in the economy, it will increase the repo rate. Please remember this kind of one. Questions like this will be asked. What will happen if RBI decreases the repo rate? Okay, the money value, the money in the economy increases, the money in the economy decreases. No, the money will not either decrease or increase. These kind of questions will be asked. Okay, then reverse repo rate. See, this is a slightly different thing from repo rate. That is the reverse of repo. In fact, that is there itself in the title itself. Here RBI will lend from bank. In the repo rate, RBI will give loans to the bank. Okay, here RBI will lend from bank. In fact, RBI is getting money from banks. Generally what will happen is, bank will have excess money in their hand, and in such a situation they may not find enough people seeking loan from the bank. So bank may have excess money with their hand, and they don't want to keep it as idle. So what they will do is, they will park these funds with the RBI. Okay, and RBI will pay some interest for this money. Okay, this is apart from cash reserve ratio. Okay, bank already maintain cash reserve ratio. They will additionally, they will have excess amount, and they want additionally they will maintain extra amount of cash that they want to park in the RBI, and for this RBI will pay some interest rate. That interest is known as reverse repo. Here RBI is paying that interest. Okay, and generally it is around, it will be lesser than repo rate. Okay, and again this will also be used by RBI to increase the and decrease the money supply in the economy. You have to understand here, what happens in the repo rate will actually have a different effect in the reverse repo rate. What it means? See, in the repo rate, if RBI increases the repo rate, no, bank will lend less from RBI. But here, if the RBI increases the reverse repo rate, bank will park more money in the RBI. Similarly, if the RBI increases the repo rate, right, that means bank will have lesser money, because they won't lend much from RBI. As a result, there will be less money supply in the economy. But if the RBI increase the repo rate, reverse repo rate, what happens is, there will be again decrease in the economy. So you will think here, if reverse repo rate, if the RBI increases, since it is reverse repo, no, there will be increase in money supply in the market. No, not like that. Here also the same result will be there. That is what you have to understand here. Okay, very very important thing. And RBI use this method also for maintaining the money supply in the economy. See, please remember this. These two tools are increased in the 1990s, especially in around 2000, like that, and these are all introduced because of this concept called liquidity adjustment facility. That is, the bank need some liquidity to meet some certain situations. Okay, and overnight transactions, like 1 week transactions, some short term transactions. For this purpose, these two instruments were created, either to park fund in RBI or to lend loan from bank when they need some money. Okay, This is what I said, no, the liquidity adjustment facility, and it was introduced after the Narasimhan Committee on Banking Reforms, okay, somewhere around 1999 and 2000. So by this method, banks could quickly borrow money in case of an emergency to meet certain requirements. Okay, so they will get this loan by repo rate and or repo rate. Okay, and the transaction in this method will be done by known as what is known as RTGS. What is RTGS? These kind of questions will be asked in civil service. It is known as real time gross settlement. That is, the money will be done by online transfer, and immediately the money will be transferred. If bank is asking for money to RBI, no, they will send the money immediately, just like that, real time. If the RBI is changing, it will immediately in the bank account. Okay, that is called RTGS. There is also another method known as NEFT. In fact, when I use net banking, I used to do it in net bank NEFT. What NEFT is, if we send the amount, no, it won't go immediately. It will take some time, 1 hour, 2 hour. We have seen, no, because RBI will send this money in batches. Banks will send this money in batches in the online transfer. So there is a difference between RTGS and NEFT. Okay, we also have to know that. And here, please remember, all commercial bank could avail this facility. They could quickly borrow for short time by the repo rate to meet that liquidity position. But regional rural banks are not allowed to get this benefit. Okay, and please also remember, by this facility, our banks could borrow only to a certain percentage, okay, of the net demand at time reduce. They cannot earn about this. There is a limit for this. Okay, but sometimes bank may require a little bit extra money. Okay, so RBI in 2011 came up with a new scheme called marginal standing facility. We'll see what is marginal standing facility. Okay, so I have given you what is RTGS and NEFT. RTGS is real time gross settlement, that is, the money will be transferred online immediately. But there is also one other difference. Here the money amount should be minimum 2 lakh rupees, only then it is could be sent by RTGS. So I will be doing some small transactions, so that is why I am not availing RTGS. I am sending by NEFT. Okay, NEFT is National Electronic Fund Transfer. Okay, it is a little bit slow because it is done in batches. Okay, and this could be sent for any much of amount. Even you could send 10 rupees to others. Okay, so there is no minimum or maximum limit here, NEFT. But RTGS, there should be a minimum amount of 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so these kind of questions are asked in prelims, please remember. So as I said earlier, no, by liquidity adjustment facility, banks could borrow only to a certain limit of their requirement of NDTL. So bank, if it wants a little bit higher, no, they could also still get from RBI. This they could avail by up to 1% of their up to 1% higher of that net demand and tie liabilities at a higher interest rate than repo. They may RBI will charge 1% higher than repo. If repo rate is today 6%, no, by the liquidity adjustment facility, they will get low. Banks get money from RBI by what do you say, 6% interest. But in the marginal standing facility, they will have to pay 7% interest. So 1% extra interest will be there to avail that extra percent loan. And they could also, this is also for short term overnight borrowing. Okay, in fact, to meet some short term requirement, daily requirements. Okay, and banks will face this kind of situation. Okay, that is why these kind of things are there. Okay, In fact, this was increased to 3% in 2013. That 1% I said no, it was increased up to 3%, but since 2015 RBI has brought it to 1%. So by marginal standing facility, banks could avail loan from RBI overnight at a 1% higher interest rate than repo rate. Okay, and at present it is 4.25%. In fact, this will be on par with bank rate. In fact, what is the bank rate will be this. Okay, so what is the difference between repo rate and MSF? So repo rate is what uh, banks used to get the LF method. Marginal standing facility method, they will charge 1% extra. Okay, uh, so see, remember what is the difference. See, MSF could be used only in time of emergencies. Okay, that borrowing, extreme condition when bank has no other source. Okay, and bank is very naive. So MSF are taken only during emergencies, and it also carries a higher rate than repo rate because 1% higher is there. Okay, mm, and also remember, banks could get a 1% higher amount than in fact they could even sell, they could even get loan from RBI by pledging their SLR quota. That is, if 21% is today SLR, no, they could maintain, they could say pledge 1% of SLR quota and they could get through MSF method. Okay, so by this method their SLR will come 1% down by MSF, but it is for short period. Remember, that is very important. Okay, so these are all the difference between repo rate and MSF. There is also another thing called base rate. Okay, what is base rate? See, base rate is the minimum rate set by RBI below which the banks are not allowed to lend to its customers. Okay, so see, so far we have been looking about what is happening between RBI and bank. There is also another angle, that is banks are lending to people and banks are lending to businesses, small businesses and large businesses. So bank will charge some interest to the people, and RBI by this base rate method, no, which was earlier introduced in 2010, at that time the banks should lend at the minimum rate of this rate. Behind that it could not go. Suppose RBI set us the base rate at 9%, no, the bank should not lend less than that rate to any of its customers. If the base rate is 9%, RBI banks has to lend above 9%. Bank could even charge 12% to its customers or 18% to its customers, but they should never charge less than 9%. Okay, why this base rate was introduced in 2010, no, because before then there was this thing called benchmark prime lending rate. Okay, what is that benchmark prime lending rate? So benchmark prime lending rate is a concept that was introduced in 2003 by banks, by which they will charge their customers, that is their credit worthy customers, with the most less interest rate. So banks, in order to lend more to people, to get more customers, they will reduce their interest rate to their prospective customers. If some customer is very regular, some customer is very reliable, they will lend to those customers at a very low interest rate, and this interest rate is fixed by the bank itself. That is, so bank lend to some customers who are credit worthy at a rate which was called as benchmark prime lending rate. Okay, and bank will fix accordingly. That rate is fixed by bank itself. So RBI for some time felt that this is not a transparent method, because what happened was RBI may lend for some person a less amount. In fact, two business people are going to get loan to the bank. One person is getting 8% interest, other person is charged 10% interest. What it means? Bank is showing some discrepancy. So RBI don't want this to happen. That is because there is no transparency, no. So it wanted to introduce this base rate. Okay, so to bring transparency, that is why RBI bought the base rate. But this base rate also did not serve the purpose, because RBI charge base rate, no, and the bank cannot lend lesser than that, no. Sometimes bank may not find enough customers. Okay, as a result, bank may have lot of money in their own hand, and they may parking this fund on the what you say, with the RBI. Okay, getting the reverse repo rate. So what is the problem with that, no? If bank wants to RBI wants to increase money supply, and if it is changes some rate of any of these credit control mechanism, since bank is not going to reduce the lending rate to, or means bank is not going to do this, and bank is just going to hold the cash with them, or it is going to park this fund in the RBI, no, there will not be any correct change in the economy. So as a result, banks are reluctant to pass the benefit to the people. So the base rate system creates some problem to bankers. So RBI came with another thing called marginal cost of fund based lending rate. Okay, this is the new introduction which is at present, and it came replace the 2010 base rate. So this was replaced at present. Here the bank can determine the what is the lending rate for the prospective customers, but it should be based on 4 components. Okay, it is calculated on 4 components. That is the marginal cost of funds incurred, then there is a negative carry on account of having cash reserve ratio, and the operating costs for bank, and the loan tenor premium. All these 4 factors are considered, and they will find what will be the right interest rate. See, RBI, if the RBI says to the bank that you have to not lend for less than 9%, no. See, the bank may have the capacity to lend at 8%. Okay, but since RBI has said that they have to lend at 8%, 9%, they cannot go lesser. So what RBI said is, so you calculate what will be the amount where you won't incur any losses. So as that is what is marginal cost of fund based lending. So this calculation will be done, and finally they will arrive at a rate. So this rate is arrived by the bank internally, again like earlier period. Okay, so please remember this point. This was introduced in 2016. Okay, so it is nothing but an improved version of base rate. So it takes into account important factors, so it is a much better method. Okay, see, all this bank rate and all these different tools that we saw so far, no, all these are are tools that the RBI used to increase or decrease the money supply. But sometime, due to some reasons, there are many reasons. If you study the economy very deeply, you will know all the details. For some reasons, that is why I am not going into those details. I have given this here. Okay, some examples. See, for some reason, the intended benefit of the RBI may not fruit. As a result, these measures could not yield the what the result that the RBI is expecting. So RBI also have an alternative method called open market operation. Okay, so what it open market operation is? It refers to the effort of RBI buying and selling of securities in the money market. Okay, so RBI will buy and sell the securities in the money market. So whenever the RBI wants to increase money supply in the market or the economy, it will buy lot of securities. As a result, there will be more money in the market. Whenever RBI wants to decrease the money in the economy, it will sell the government securities so that the money will be collected by RBI. Okay, so this is what known as open market operation, and this is considered as a much better quantitative tool than the different CRR, SLR and other things. Okay, because here it is direct. See, in the previous case, because RBI changed the CRR, RBI changed the CLR, then bank will act accordingly, and then the people will act accordingly, and that is how. So that is the indirect connection for change. That is why the change is not happening, because sometimes a person, even if you want to invest, see, bank may lend at a very low interest rate, but still people may not take the loans, because they may feel that at present situation starting a industry or investing in money may not yield enough result. So even they get low interest rate, they won't lend money. So the benefit may not occur to RBI. RBI intention to stimulate the economy may not happen. So these kind of points you could understand. See, recently the government focused on providing stimulus packages to make the money supply when the economy was slowing down, but the economy was not responding well. Why? Because the businessmen were not willing to invest. The businessman was not willing to take the thing that the RBI and the government is giving them, because they felt that the economy is slowing, so they don't want to invest there, so they don't change lanes. So this is considered as a more effective method than the rate method, that CRR. So in the quantitative method, open market operation is a much better method because it is direct. But here also there is a shortcoming, because the government may not have that much of securities. It will have only for a certain amount, so that limit only they could sell. But this is a much better method. It is an alternative method to the rate system of RBI to control the quantitative control, to infuse the money, to change the money supply in the economy. Okay. Now we have seen all the quantitative method. Now we'll see the qualitative method of selective method. So here is a small difference between quantitative method and qualitative method. That is, see, in the quantitative method, when RBI does something, it means there will be a change in the credit supply in the economy. Okay, please remember this point. The size of the credit in the economy may either increase or they may decrease, but In this method, the size of the credit in the economy is not going to get affected. Rather, the sectoral wise of the credit supply will be fixed by RBI using this method. What do I mean by that? Okay, economy to see, if in economy suddenly today if you find that in the automobile sector, right, take the automobile sector, that sector, all the prices of that sector is going high. Okay, there is a huge inflation in that price of that product, and RBI wants to bring that price down. So RBI will use selective measures in that sector, focusing on that sector, and as a result the price will come down. Okay, how this happens, I'll give an example. See, if take the automobile sector, if all the banks are lending to this sector, if all the banks are lending to automobile sector, right, more money, they are lending more money to this sector, the banks are lending more money to this sector. Okay, as a result, the interest rate of all the banks will come down, because there will be competition. One bank to get more loan, another bank, if people are wanting to buy more bikes and cars, no, everybody will go to the bank, and all the banks will offer this loan, and as a result, to get this loan, no, every bank will give a lesser interest loan. Okay, as a result, the sale of that product will go up, because banks are lending more to this sector. The demand for that product will go high. When the demand goes high, no, and there is not enough supply side. Okay, suddenly if the demand for a bike and car are increased, and the car and bike are not produced enough, no, automatically the price of the car and bike will go up. To solve this problem, to solve that inflation in that problem, no, what bank will do is, bank will ask to lend to decrease the lending to that sector to the bank. Okay, I hope you understand. That is how it affects. Here you could see RBI is not influencing any money, or RBI is not sucking any money. It is only changing the structure, economy sector wise it is changing. Okay, that is the difference between qualitative and quantitative method. So what are all the types of instruments here it have? One is rationing of credit, that is what I discussed now. Okay, and in this method, no, RBI will ask to lend to the priority sector. See, RBI mandates banks to lend to priority sector. Why? See, generally the bank are run by the commercial motive, that is profit motive. In fact, commercial banks are run by commercial motive. So what they will do is, they will give loans to only big industries, right, where they could get enough collateral, and like that. As a result, they may not reach the people of poor people and other people, they may not get enough loan, right? So RBI mandates, so that's, so in the economy what will happen is, the bank are going to lend only to industries and other people, no, only those sector will grow. What happens to agriculture, what happens to small scale industry, what happens to medium scale industries, these, what happens to education, what happened to how poor people. So all this sector also have to grow in an economy. So RBI will take list of those sector, and they are listed in the priority sector, and RBI mandates the bank to lend some amount to that sector. So RBI, even if it is wants to lend more to the their industry and other thing people, no, big businesses, they could not do, bank could not do. because RBI mandates certain percentage has to be lent to the priority sector. That is what rationing of credit, so that the inequality in the different sector lending will be less. Okay, so this is one way of qualitative control of RBI. Okay, so all scheduled commercial banks know are mandated to set aside 40% of the net bank credit, adjusted net bank credit, for lending to this priority sector. And regional rural banks, cooperative bank and small finance bank have 75% to the priority sector, because they are for the purpose of developing this sector, priority sector. Okay, please remember these kind of points. Similarly, RBI will regulate the credit consumption. So this is the example I gave when I talked about automobile sector. Okay, for some sector there will be huge increase in demand, so reduce that demand, they will regulate the credit to that industry. Okay, similarly, see, RBI will use another qualitative method called variation of margin requirements. What it is? See, you might have seen ads during some festival times in some consumer market where they say that no down payment. Okay, so what is no down payment? So when we buy some product, no, we will pay some amount from our hand, that is what known as down payment, and the bank will put the balance amount, so that we lend the balance amount, so that we buy the product. Okay, so RBI banks at times what they want to do is they want to lend more to people, so as a result they may say that, so if a person who is not having enough down payment, no, for example, if RBI is charging, if I want to buy a bike, take a case example, right? I want to buy a bike costs some 50,000, let me say. Okay, and RBI bank says that I have to pay a down payment of 10,000. Okay, and suppose I'm not having 10,000. Okay, I won't go to the bank. But if RBI tomorrow, no, if a bank tomorrow says that there is no down payment, only you could avail a loan, I will go, because I'm not having money. Even if RBI just reduces the down payment, that is, bank reduces the down payment, that is, it brings it to 5,000, I'd go. If I may not have 10,000, I may have 5,000, I'll buy that bike. Okay, so to increase that sale in that particular sector, RBI will reduce the down payment. And I'm using RBI for bank, so bank may reduce that down payment, and what will happen is, as a result, more people will buy that product, and it will increase the rate of demand of that product. So to avoid that, bank may request RBI may request the bank to vary the margin requirements. That is, it may ask them to go to the previous amount of 10,000. This could also happen vice versa, since because for long time 10,000 or 15,000 down payment is charged by bank, and as a result the sales in the economy is less, no, and what RBI will do is they will ask them to increase the decrease the down payment, and this may result in more purchase. That's how that will stimulate the economy. Okay, these are all the ways of qualitative control. There is one other thing called moral suasion. Okay, it is, see, RBI when it issues a guideline, but if the bank is not following, no, RBI may persuade the bank to do this, what it says, like saying that you will face consequences, right? Something like that. But even then, without taking any penalty action against bank, okay. But sometimes the RBI may also take action. So that is the difference between moral suasion and action, direct action. In moral suasion, RBI will ask or persuade, try to persuade them by saying that they should do this. But in direct action, they will penalize the banks that are not following the guidelines. Okay, that is the difference between moral suasion and direct action. These are all the qualitative controls of RBI, credit control. So in this lesson we learnt about all the different credit control method for monetary policy. In fact, we have seen everything in clarity. Even if you've not understood, try to go and study and understand all these things. There are a lot of things here and everything is important. There are chances for question either in prelims, and this will help you to lay some foundation in future when you study some articles in paper. All these things, this will be very useful. Okay, just I end this lesson. Bye. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel, keep watching, share it to your friends. Bye.